Welcome to the Sound Meets Sound podcast, and a little bit of a switch up this episode. I'm gonna talk about my project that I'm working on, my TV pilot. And no, it's not because I didn't plan ahead enough to get a guest on the podcast. Actually, yes, it is. But anyway, I thought it would be cool to talk about Amiss, which is the name of my TV pilot, because I've learned quite a bit in the past few weeks about what it takes to put on an independent TV pilot production that I will also be writing the soundtrack for and doing sound design for. So yeah, it's a cross between Bewitched and Abbott Elementary. It's a half-hour, lighthearted, single-cam comedy, which basically means it's not one of those network shows that's filmed in front of a live audience. That's a multicam. The show is about a tween witch named Parker who is mysteriously orphaned, and she doesn't know she's a witch yet, which is a problem because her powers are manifesting and she doesn't know how to control them. And in the world of Amiss, like in the world of Bewitched, witchcraft has to remain hidden, even though in Bewitched it's often not hidden, which is very funny. So Heather and her coven, Heather is my character, decide that they have to basically gather around Parker in her life and basically go undercover in her life and get to know her and then eventually tell her who she is, because they don't know what happened to her parents. So Parker's in foster care. And so my character is this cranky 600-year-old witch named Heather, who is roused from a long hibernation. I'm thinking 100 years. I was saying 200 years, but maybe she's been hibernating for 100 years. We don't know why she went into hibernation. It's just something some long-lived beings do sometimes when life gets too much. So her coven rouses her from her hibernation. She's very cranky about it. And they say, we've all got our roles in Parker's life, and now you need to go and be a teacher at her school, and that will be your role, because Heather was a teacher in the past, pre-hibernation. So Heather begrudgingly gets hired in Parker's school, and that's basically the first episode is the coven cajoling Heather into doing this, Heather having a disastrous interview with the principal of the school, the elementary school, but still getting the job because, of course, the coven have made sure that she will get the job. And then it's some hijinks in the classroom, and one of the coven members, Christy, her daughter, who is one of Parker's classmates, accidentally finding out about her mom being a witch and her teacher, Heather, being a witch. And so there's a scene where they do a ritual with Missy so that she won't accidentally spill the beans about Parker, even to Parker herself. So it's it's a lighthearted comedy. There's a whoopee cushion involved at one point and a flip phone. And I wrote it because I wanted to play, honestly, I just wanted to play a cranky, funny character. I've been getting a lot of auditions for, I call them sad moms or bad moms. And I'm not saying all these roles are bad or whatever. I've enjoyed playing some of them, but I just wanted to play a character that where the family relationship wasn't her main salient characteristic. So not that there's anything wrong with that at all. Those roles are important, but that was just something I wanted. So I wrote a scene and I worked on it with a friend, and she was like, what if you wrote another scene? And that went on for a few weeks until it became an actual pilot, and which is about, for half hour, it's about 25 pages page a minute, add in commercials. So what happened though is we basically realized we didn't have the funding to film a 22 to 25 page pilot because it's about 8 hours. You can do about 5 pages in 8 hours, but that's about it. It's a pretty tight shooting schedule, but we were, because of our location, for 2 of the days at least, we're having to do it in 8 hours. So I cut it down to 15 pages. So it'll be at about a 15-minute proof of concept, but I think it'll still be good. And it kind of forced me to tighten up some of the scenes, and I think honestly it'll be better for that. And then I can go back and add some stuff in to make it a full pilot script again. But that being said, before I had to cut it down to 15 pages, the pilot I did submit the screenplay to a couple of festivals that do screenplay competitions. And so far, I've scooped up 2 placements, one in a semifinalist in the Bitch Fest LA screenplay competition, and one placement in the Silver Screen Festival. The screenplay was rejected from 2 festivals so far, and I'm waiting to hear on about 3 or 4 more festivals. So I don't know. I think I'm happy to have 2 sets of, fancy laurels to put on my website for this. So that's basically the script and the story. Once I had that, I was like, okay, I think I really want to make this thing. So I contacted a director friend and just started gathering information because I've never done a production of this size ever before. And I will be so glad when it's over and I can say that I have done it before because it has been a huge learning curve, and it's been, stressful. It's been exciting, but so the first step was to do a table read. This was back when it was a full 24 pages, I think, at the time. Back in September, my friend and I gathered together a bunch of actors we knew, and we did a Zoom table read, which was super cool. And it resulted in several revisions, realizing to extend some things and shorten others. So that was the first sort of part of making it a real project, was having actors read it. And then we just started getting locations. We got the locations for 2 of the days, for the day with the kids and the day with the faculty. And then a couple weeks ago, I finally got the 3rd location for the coven scenes. Several ups and downs as we went along. At first, we were going to get the camera and equipment for basically free, and then that fell through, and you can't shoot a pilot without those things. So I reached out to the script supervisor I had hired, and she was like, wait, I got a guy, which was great. And yeah, it's Josh at Crew Me Up, and he was like, we will work with whatever budget you have. And I was like, that's great, because we don't have much of a budget for this because we thought we were getting it for free. So, but we have a cast now. Almost all the people we reached out to said yes. There was one person we were going to reach out to, and then she got another job. So we're very excited. I think they're all people from the table read, except for the kids. We didn't have kids come to the table read. There's 4 child roles, about 10 years old. So we've got all kids and adults locked for their shooting days. We've got equipment again. We've got, I think, all of our crew now. And so we've got Crafty and Catering, my very good friend and former guest on the podcast, Mirane Shim, is making sure that everyone gets fed on the days of filming, because that's actually a pretty big deal for film shoots, is having craft services, or crafty as it's called, and catering at least one meal depending on how long the day is. And I will say, as an actor, the food is important because you're kind of trapped in one place for an entire day. So one of my favorite jobs ever. Part of the reason it's my favorite is because they had just the amazing catering. But it was also a great role, and went to a festival, which is great. We're going to be filming soon, and I'm definitely not full of fear and worry. I mean, I'm excited, but I am full of fear and worry. We've got to get a truck to get all the equipment from Queens to Manhattan, and someone to drive the truck. These are TBD. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm sure someone will drive the truck. So I thought I would talk about, define sort of the roles that I am playing for this production, and some of the other roles that I've hired out, because that was a big unknown for me, is like, who works on a TV pilot, or any TV production. So I met with several other producer friends who, like Melissa Blue Ward, who runs Rock Your Reel in LA. I totally would have hired her if I was doing this in LA, but I'm doing it in New York City. And she gave me like template budgets and other templatized things to use for like crew contact info, all the like various documents you need when you're doing this that need to be shared with the other producers. So I'm the executive producer of Amiss, which basically means I'm securing the funding. As I understand it, that's a big part of the EP's role, the executive producer's role, is that they are securing funding in some way, whether it's their own money or they're getting someone else's money, or in my case, crowdfunding the money. That's a big part of what the EP does. So if you see that in the TV credits, executive producer, that means that they've somehow brought in some funding for the show, as I understand it. So it also means, you have quite a bit of say over what happens in the show, because it can't happen without the money. Let me tell you, a lot of actors will act for free. Crew absolutely will not. I mean, most crew, maybe like a student or something, but, and no one is really gonna, as I found out the hard way, no one's really gonna give you equipment for free either. Like, this stuff costs a lot of money. So, anyway, actors, I don't work for free unless you really want to. Please get paid, and I am paying my actors. It's not as much as I want, but anyway, I digress. I'm the EP. I also decided to be the line producer, which is the person who basically deals with the budget. It's the producer who helps create the budget with the other department heads, and tells everyone how much money they can spend. And so I told myself how much I could spend on the cast. I told my director and her DP how much they could spend on crew and all the other various things like hard drives and transportation and crafty and food. So and I was very pleased when Melissa Blue saw my budget and she said, "Hey, those are good numbers." And I was like, "Thank you." I actually really enjoyed line producing this, even though it meant I often had to say to people, no, you can't have that, or we can't afford that, or can you do it for this amount? I actually really enjoyed like crunching the numbers, which was weird. I didn't think I would like that. So I was the line producer. I'm the writer, obviously, and in TV, that means I'm also the showrunner, which means they say TV is the writer's medium, film is the director's medium, and that's because in TV, the showrunner is the person, at least usually originally, is the person who wrote the show. Sometimes showrunners change hands, after a few seasons. But in addition to being the EP and the keeper of the budget, I'm also the showrunner. So pretty much every decision was mine to make in a way, which sounds great, having so much control, but it also was hard because there was no one else to make the decisions. So heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? I look forward to future productions where I'm maybe not wearing all of these hats. Like maybe I'm just the showrunner or I line produce for someone. I'm also the quote unquote star because at least the pilot that's Heather's episode. So eventually I'm envisioning as the show goes on, it becomes more of Parker's show. But for now, for this pilot, it's Heather's show. So I have to make sure I memorize all my lines, which I'm not too worried about. I love that I heard the story about Bill Hader when he created Barry, and it was a similar situation. He was the writer and the creator, showrunner, and the star. I think he showed up for his first day of filming being like, wait, which scene is this and what are my lines? Because there's just so much to do. It's very easy to put the acting thing at the very bottom. So anyway, I'm sure I'll know my lines. We have such a tight schedule those first 2 days. I better know my lines because there's no room for error there. So I think and then the other roles that I'm playing are soundtrack and sound design. I love the magic sounds in Bewitched, which is a lot of like sort of things that sound like vibraphone or, oh my gosh, I can't think of the thing that's like, woo. There's a couple of instruments that do that. I'm totally blanking on them, but like the Doctor Who sound. So I'm trying to decide like what direction I want to go with the magic sounds. There's minimal magic in this pilot episode, mainly because I wanted to keep the VFX budget low. So those are two other things I'm doing. I will probably end up doing some of the editing because our budget in other areas got so bloated that I'm going to have very little left for editing. So I will probably do some of it. I'd love to hire an editor who specializes in comedy because editing is such a huge part of how a show communicates its tone and its intent. And so I really want it to be clear that this is a lighthearted, kind of fast-paced comedy. Another like concept, or I should say a tone comparison show is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I love the speed and the tone of that show. Yeah, that will be interesting. Maybe I will find a brilliant comedy editor who won't charge me a lot. So there's that. I need to hire a colorist, like a color grading person, and VFX. I'm not going to even attempt that. So, but again, minimal VFX, just some light things that I would love to do on set as practical effects, but I'm just not sure we'll actually have the time or the resources to do it. We'll see. But I am a huge fan of practical effects, honestly, especially loving Bewitched so much. And so much of that was just, freezing time and the actor just sits there pretending to be frozen or, stitching together shots where they, are in one place and then they cut and then they move them to a different place and then they cut, come back in, and just very practical. I'm a big fan of that. So those are the roles I'm fulfilling. My friend who helped me with the script originally, Carrie Evans, she's actually my acting coach, and I was bringing her these scenes being like, hey, can we work on these together? And she was the one who was like, hey, keep writing it, and bounced a lot of ideas off of her, and a lot of great stuff actually came from her, but I feel like I need to give her like an additional credit by or something. She insists that her influence wasn't that great, but she really did help me. And she's a producer. She secured the location for 2 of the 3 filming days. She is also acting in it. She's playing Christy, whose daughter accidentally finds out about the magic. And so she's been helping a lot. The director, Artemis Akulku, is also a producer. So she's been doing a lot of things like she gathered most of the crew and working with her DP. The DP is the director of photography. Apparently this is also the same title. It's analogous to a cinematographer. I don't understand the industry background of that, but I've heard that some people are like, no, I'm a director of photography, and some people are like, no, I'm a cinematographer, and people get touchy about that. So, but it's basically the person who decides how the thing will look. When you think of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the look is very specific, or you think of Bewitched or Abbott Elementary, that kind of muted look that Abbott Elementary has. So that's a big part of all of it. And they're the ones who decide, I say decide which camera we're going to use. They're the ones who figure out like the best camera we can get on our budget. That's also a whole other can of worms that I didn't know about, like Red camera, Alexa camera. I'm just learning a lot of new things. There's obviously the cast. I hired a sound person. It's just the one person, and he's going to be doing it all with boom and lav. I was told that I definitely want to get 2 sources of sound for each shoot, so, and I agree, because the very, very, very first tiny little production I did, the sound was bad and it was basically unusable. I mean, we could have done ADR after the fact and re-recorded all the lines, but it was such a tiny little production, I just scrapped it. And I've heard other horror stories. So I think the thing that on the day of, the thing I'll be most stressed about is getting sound. Because if we don't get that, it's going to be a lot of extra work. Because at this point, I'm not going to scrap this. So if the sound is bad, there will be a lot of ADR, which will balloon the budget. But anyway, I'm just manifesting now. The sound's going to go great. I do trust the guy we hired, Christian. So, Chris, if you're listening, total trust, total faith, just bringing in my own trauma in here and borrowed trauma from other people's horror stories. Let's see, Crafties, Mirane. Another person who's really helped me a lot has been my friend Stephanie Arapian, also a former guest of the podcast. She's done productions like this before, and so I had her do a script breakdown for all the props and costumes and set dressings that are mentioned in the script that I need to make sure I acquire before the shoot. And she made a really beautiful script breakdown, which is great. She also helped me sort of think through what kind of hard drives I need to buy. Unfortunately, she led me to the same conclusion I had come to, which is that I have to shell out a lot of money for good hard drives. But when it comes to like durability and speed, especially offloading the footage from the camera into the hard drive at the end of the filming day, I just keep seeing over and over and over again, like the one place to like skimp on quality is not the drive. That's the one place you want to just pay. You get what you pay for, and you want to pay for essentially the best. So that was a bitter pill to swallow, but we will make it happen, and I think we'll be happy to be able to offload the footage as quickly as possible at the end of the day. And that's another role I didn't know about. DIT is the Director of Information Technology, I assume, is what that stands for. And that person is sometimes a separate person, sometimes it's the AC or the second AC. And they are in charge of getting the files off the camera and into the hard drive. That's a mystery to me. I don't understand how all that works totally. Or maybe they hooked the hard drive right up to the camera. I honestly don't know. That's something I guess I'll learn soon. I've just been told that I need to buy these hard drives. So AC is assistant camera person, I think is what that stands for. And they will help the DP assemble and hold the camera, basically. And sometimes there's a second AC to help with these things. So the camera is often something that you have to build, which was news to me. And depending on what kind of shots you're going for, there are different kind of rigs that go onto the camera. And that's what these ACs basically help with, is building and holding the camera, or sometimes getting the camera person out of the rig is the thing. So again, still kind of mysterious to me. We'll be interested to see how that works on the days of. And yeah, so those are the ACs. There is the first AD, who is the assistant director. There can also be a second AD. I think we'll just have one AD. The first AD has probably, I've heard people describe it as maybe the most stressful job on set. They basically keep everyone on schedule, which is super important. I think maybe I might make a good AD, because you just have to be very, very strict, and but it does seem really stressful, so I'm not sure I actually want to do it. But it's kind of like the line producer with the budget, where you just have to hold the line and say, this is the amount of money we have and we can't go beyond it. The AD, a big part of their job, not the only part, but a big part of their job is to say, these are the amount of hours we have in the space to film, and we can't create more time out of thin air, especially in locations where you really can't go beyond the time that you said you would get out of the space, which includes like loadout and everything. So yeah, the first AD plays a very, very important role, and I've been on sets with excellent first ADs, and everyone gets their footage done, and everyone leaves on time. And if something doesn't get shot, it was for a very good reason. And then I've been on sets where maybe the AD wasn't so good about that, and it's hard on everyone, because it just means that you don't get what you wanted to get shot done in the time. So as a gross oversimplification of what the first AD does, but that's the part of it that I understand and relate to the most, is them just saying to the director and to everyone else, we're out of time. If 3 takes in, okay, we got to move on. So, yeah, it's a very important job. I'm trying to think of the other roles. There's like the grip and the gaffer, and these are people who deal with lighting and electric is something you'll hear. It's basically, all the lights, powering all the lights, and I'm sure a million other things that I don't really know about. None of my producer friends really had much detail to give me about that. They were like, oh, that's just hire the person and they will take care of it. But it is a big part of the equipment list. So lights are not cheap, like the camera. I mean, the camera is the most expensive part, but lights are also not cheap, and they're also essential to filming. So that's the G&E, grip and electric is that department head. And then there's the script supervisor, which I learned hands-on about, or not hands-on, but like in close proximity. I was PAing a film shoot recently, like in the past few months, and I happened to chat a lot with the script supervisor. And so I was like, I'm going to do my own production. Can we meet and you can tell me what you do as sometimes they call them scripty. Again, apparently some people in the industry are offended by the term scripty. So I try not to say scripty because some people insist that script supervisor. I get it because it's treated as sort of an optional thing, but it's technically a department head. And after learning about it, I'm like, and talking to some other producer friends, I was like, I don't see the script supervisor as optional at all. So it's basically they not only do they track takes, like, the director's if a director says, oh, I liked that take, they'll make a note. If there are continuity things, like a person's hair looks a certain way, like windblown or something, but you're not shooting consecutively, which often happens, will happen in my shoot, actually. They will make a note of that. So all sorts of continuity things. And they make they break the script down. Their script breakdown is the source of truth for everyone else's script breakdowns, actually. And there's a million different ways that the department heads all break the script down for their own purposes. Again, I kind of understand some of it. I kind of don't know how some of that works. But they will basically make a lot of comments on their script breakdown for the editor. And it makes the editor's job much more straightforward. And as someone who has edited all of her own stuff, both as audio engineer for my music and for all my own little productions I've done heretofore, I cannot stress enough how important and how useful it is to make your editor's job easier, because they're often not on site. And I unfortunately will not have an editor on site for this. So all they're getting is a huge pile of footage and the script. And so having a very detailed analysis of how the actual filming went down is really helpful. And having a script that accurately reflects what happened in the filming, because sometimes you're filming and it's like someone skips a line or there's a last minute decision to change a line, and that you really want to know that when you're editing, because you're using the script to help you choose between takes and line everything up and make sure that you're cutting it together so that it follows the script and makes sense. So anyway, I'm very happy with the script supervisor who has signed on. Her name is Lori Grabowski. Her IMDb is like super impressive. She's worked on a million huge projects, including The Blacklist, which stood out for me because I'm a huge Blacklist fan. So yeah, those are the main roles. I'm just thinking through my budget are the main roles that I can think of that people play. There's lots of optional roles but lots of, you can have a much bigger crew than what we're having. We're just having as few people as that we can manage to have. I think we will have hair, makeup, and a costumer, but I will say that I have been on a lot of projects that did not have hair, makeup, or costuming. You basically arrived in the clothes you're going to shoot in, and you do your own makeup and hair. So that is a place where people cut a lot of corners, but we're going to try to do that for people. Yeah, that's the gist of it. Hope we'll have maybe a couple more PAs to help with all the random things you can't foresee. Helping to carry things, moving furniture, all that sort of stuff. That's basically the landscape of a crew setup for a small production. We're doing a SAG micro contract. So it's a $20K maximum budget. And I'm really excited. I'd love to make Witch Amiss a web series, but I'm just not sure where you can't crowdfund 20 grand for like 6 episodes. That's just not feasible. So, I mean, you could. I don't want to never say never, right? But that would be a lot of work. So yeah, we'll see if a production company gets interested in it. Maybe even sell it to a studio. I don't know. That's another thing that I will be learning about is all the post-production stuff. As a SAG micro, I can't distribute it to subscriber places, so I can only distribute it to I can't remember, something video on demand. There's SVOD, subscriber video on demand, which is a no-no. And then something VOD, which is like YouTube, where maybe it's AVOD, advertising video on demand, where you are allowed to make revenue from advertising from places where people don't have to subscribe, like YouTube. So yeah, distributing, we're limited in what we can do under the SAG micro contract. But yeah, if someone picks it up, honestly, then it could go a lot of different ways. So yeah, that's where I stand with my TV pilot production. And thank you for listening to this. If you have, if you're still listening right now, you get like special gold star, because probably very few will listen to the end of this. But yeah, and I'm just really excited to move forward with this and start filming in 2 weeks. And yeah, maybe I will put my current draft of the theme song, I'm sure it'll change again, at the end of this. And yeah, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next month. Bye.